Welcome back to Oregon Public Retirement. I'm your host, Daniel Ryan, certified financial planner and IRS enrolled agent. In today's topic, we are going to be talking about the loss of membership status that some of our PERS members will go into. Now, before I get into that, I do want to recommend that you check out my book on Amazon, Oregon Public Retirement, the Financial Planning Playbook for Oregon Public Servants, where I talk about this topic even more in depth. But what we're going to talk about today is how do I understand this so it doesn't happen to me? And if it has happened to you, what you can do about it going forward. So without further ado, let's get into it. So like I said, today is focused on the topic of loss of membership, or LOM. This is applicable to all PERS members. So Tier 1, Tier 2, and OPSERP, it doesn't matter. Police and fire, general service, all of you who are in the PERS pension system, this is going to be an important topic to you. If you're not vested, or maybe if this has already happened to you, what you can do going forward. Now, loss of membership occurs when someone does not vest in the pension first. So let's unpack vesting for a second. Vesting is a fancy word for, did you do enough time, 5 years technically, in the PERS system for us to guarantee that you're going to get a benefit from PERS going forward at some point in time in the future? So typically what happens is that folks will work for 30 years, but at least 5 years of work within the Oregon PERS service sector needs to occur so that you get something from the pension system. That's the vesting time periods. But what happens is that someone works for maybe 4 years, and then they realize, I have not vested yet. And so if they leave and go work somewhere else in the private sector or a different state or something like that, then what happens is PERS is going to say, hey, you only have 4 years of creditable service here, so you haven't vested. Now, what happens if I leave and I've been gone for more than 5 years? Well, then PERS says, hey, it seems like you're not coming back. And so we're going to go ahead and put this account that's just sitting here into loss of membership status. And that basically means that if you then came back 15 years after you had started originally, PERS is going to say, hey, you got to start over because this account here, this went dormant basically, and it went into a loss of membership status. So you might be in a completely new pension now. I have several clients that this has occurred, and we just have to work through it and understand our options. Basically, what they can do is wait until they actually retire or stop working for all PERS employers for a few months, and then they can cash out the old account at that time, this Tier 2 account that they have. Now, here's the thing. You didn't vest, so you don't get your employer contributions from that Tier 2 example. But you do get the contributions you had made into the pension system at that time. So basically what you're saying to PERS is, hey, that money that I paid in for a couple of years back in the early 2000s, can I have all of that paid out to me now? And PERS will say yes, as long as you're not currently working for a PERS employer. But like I said, sometimes people come back to work and then you're suspended until you retire or stop working for a PERS employer. So once you get to vested, let's play this circumstance a different way now. What if I had actually started in the year 2000 and I worked through the year 2005 and I had 5 full years of my work history at PERS, and so I was clearly vested in the pension system. I have a separate video on vesting itself because it's a critical component and people need to know all the different rules and cutoffs for those dates. But let's say that I did at least 5 years, then I take a 10-year, travel the world, work another job, start a business, and then 10 years later, I come back and I still say to PERS, I would like to start working for another PERS employer. PERS is going to say, since you've already vested, you get to continue as a Tier 2 member. So that's critical for folks to know. If you had just gone a couple extra years, you will get to that vesting time period. Then you can take as much time off as you want doing something else and come back and pick up right where you left off. Basically what PERS is saying is, hey, because you did at least these 5 years, we know that you were going to be a PERS member no matter what in this pension. So, thus, you will be able to continue to pick up anytime. You can go take a year off here, a year off there, come back, do some part time, do some full time, doesn't matter. We're going to keep you on the books basically, and you can continue where you left off, which is a huge deal because then you can continue your IAP contributions. You can continue getting that factor of 1.67% for the pension instead of 1.5% for the OPSERT pension. And you don't have to have this total waste of the first few years going completely out the window for your creditable years of service. So that's how you handle this tier 1, tier 2, and OPSERP loss of membership status. If you can prevent it, that's because you were fully vested. If you didn't vest and then you left for more than 5 years, PERS has basically written you off the books and said, you can come get your money whenever you want to, but we're going to make you start right from the scratch if you ever did come back, which would be a brand new pension in this case. So that's why it's so critical that you understand how loss of membership works, whether you've already had it happen to you or if you're trying to make sure it doesn't happen to you going into the future. And until next time, happy planning.